Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Biggidoo. Welcome to The Truth is Barrel Proof. You know me as the Hood Sommelier, and if you're on this channel, I want to say thank you. But most of all, thanks for joining. On this channel, we always learn a little bit about distilleries and people in the industry, and today is no different. My guest today, we had a little talk before the show. I told him I've been trying to talk to this guest forever. The reason why I truly believe that this specific distillery, being the oldest functioning distillery in Scotland, doesn't get the love it deserves, especially on the U.S. market. I've seen it the last few years, and I've always been excited to talk to this distillery, get to know more about it. And we are talking about the Glenturret. If you never heard of it, you may want to take a chair and sit down because I promise you, this is a distillery you want to know about. A long history in Scotland. They're, I always say, tradition meet innovation meet graciousness. And I felt it when I talked to their folks and I talked to people around. So I want you to sit in, tune in. And if you're here, make sure you share, you like, you comment, bring us in. If you're on YouTube, welcome. You're welcome to the show. Remind everybody the only way you support the channel is by literally going in, either by a sticker, either by sharing it to your page so people can learn as much as we put out here. And if you're watching the recast, thank you for being here. His name is Ian Renwick. He's a distillery manager, and I heard he has all the story that we need to know about the distillery, the process of how they're making the whiskey, and we get a chance to try some of drams, and I get the opportunity to tell you guys what I think and how it look. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ian Renwick to the show. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you very much. What a great introduction.
I try not to give too much on my guests because I want my guests themselves to give their background so people can hear it from themselves. I always like to know my guests, but I would say, Ian, you're a hard man to find. You don't have too much detail out there beside article written about you. I went on LinkedIn to try to snoop in to get your history, and I'm like, yeah, but I heard through the grapevine from other people that you should talk to Ian because he got all the good stories. So that's why you're here on the show. We are talking about the Glen Turret. Ian, before we dive into the distillery, who, first question: who is Ian Renwick, and what does he do for the Glen Turret Distillery?
Well, thanks very much, Jag. I suppose, yeah, I'm not out there very often. I do work in the distillery, so this is my job. I am here all the time. I'm actually in the distillery bar at the moment on a Friday night in Scotland. So I suppose my background, I really started in engineering, not distilling at all. So, but part of that was, well, it was really back in the 1980s, the mid 1980s when I started my apprenticeship. It was only 3 miles away from where we are at the moment. Just a local company, a little small company, but we did all the work at Glenturret Distillery back then. So for about 10 years or so, I worked with an engineering company and we did everything out here. So when an opportunity came up for a job actually to work in the distillery, I thought, I've always seen and we always thought working at distillery was such a beautiful job. I always had a little passion for whiskey even back then. So I applied for the job. I was lucky to get it. And at that point, it was actually 50% engineering and 50% on production. So I knew where every pipe went. I just didn't know what was inside that pipe. So I had 6 months of really intense apprenticeship in the distillery to find out what I was doing. And then really within a year, I really moved over to the full distilling side, not so much the engineering side. And to this day, I still like to dabble. I like when something breaks down, I get to go and fix it. That's my safe space, if you like. But I suppose if you roll on 30 years, I've been here all that time. So I started in the distillery, then I moved on to be supervisor, and eventually for the last 10 years, I've been the manager. And the rest is history, really. So it's been an amazing opportunity to be we almost feel like a little bit of a custodian in time at Glenturret because we've been here for 260 years. So and this is just a blink of an eye, 30 years really.
I think I've heard that mostly, especially in Scotland. A lot of engineers do get into the distilling, but for you to work at every level of it, kind of give you that full profile of the work itself, probably help guide people in the distillery. Let's talk about the distillery itself. 200 and some year. That is a long time for distilleries to still be functioning. I think there's not a lot of those functioning distillery still around. If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's right. There is a lot of very old distilleries in Scotland for sure, but we can trace our roots back to 1763, so we do go back a very long way. I mean, we've had lots of owners, lots of different types of distillation, all very traditional. I have to say, right through its whole history. Now, if you fast forward to the sort of early 1920s, late 1920s, we actually closed down for several years because of the prohibition in America was catastrophic for the whisky industry, as most people know. And Glenturret was one of the casualties at that time. But roll forward to the 50s, there was a gentleman called James Fairley, who was just a local gentleman who wanted to revive the distillery. And he really wanted to do that with the same traditional values that they had back in the 1920s. So we sourced a lot of the materials, the stills that were very, very similar to back then. And hence he built the distillery. He was actually a chemical engineer. So he was coming from that side. So engineer again, same thing. One thing he did do as well, he started to introduce tourism very, very quickly. And we were one of the first distilleries in Scotland to invite people into the distillery to show you what you were actually doing. So roll forward to 2019. Well, a few owners going up into that. We were part of Highland Distillers, a big distilling company. We had Macallan, Highland Park, a few of the big brands you know very, very well in America. So we were part of that group, but very, very small distillery within that group. So we were sold. 2018-19 was a very, very good time to sell a distillery. So we got sold as a going concern. All employees stayed. And then we started, this is for me is when Glenturret has really started to grow, because we've now got the backing that we really appreciate, that we always thought we had the good whiskey and the good spirit, but now we've got the backing to be able to show the world, and particularly in America, what we can do now. So that's what we've been doing the last few years. We've done a lot of innovation, but always it was a view of just respecting our tradition as well.
For the average single malt lover, that only knows the region of Scott, if either
Oh
it's a
yeah.
Highland or Isla or Lowland, and that, where would you categorize Glenturret? Is it a space side? Is it a Highland? Where is Glenturret, and
So
where specifically, if somebody want to visit the distillery, can they
yeah.
come to that?
So we're technically a Highland distillery. So the Highland region is by far the biggest region. I mean, it covers just about all of Scotland, to be honest, and all these other regions are within it. So, but we're based right in the southern side of the Highland fault, the Highland region, sorry. So we're about an hour north of Glasgow and Edinburgh. So if you can fly to Glasgow or Edinburgh, we're only about an hour away from there, just a little bit further north. Just at the start of the Highlands, just where you start to get the mountains. We're very, very lucky. Beautiful part of the country.
Oh, so um, I feel like anything coming out of Scotland. I was doing a presentation one time, and somebody say, "Why is everything in Scotland every whiskey I drink have a Glen something in it?" So I had to explain it to them
Yeah.
how Scotland looked like geographically. But then the question comes the next time someone asks me, Glenturret, what does that mean? What do I answer to them at that time?
Yeah, I mean, well, Glenturret, obviously, as you know, and I'm sure most of your listeners know as well, Glen is a valley in Scotland. So simple as that. And Turret is actually the name of the loch the water comes from, which is about 3 miles away. And the river right beside our distillery is the Turret as well. So we're in the Turret in the Glen. So Glenturret.
All right.
Exactly. Yeah.
See, now I love those little things because most people will buy a brand. Some actually don't buy a brand because they can't pronounce some
Yeah.
of those brand until the brand become popular. But I always almost like to tell people from the bottle all the way down to the spirit itself, why the name and why is that. So I'm glad you clarified that name. Now let's talk about distilling. Is it all traditional? You producing single malt? What are you? I heard through the grapevine there must be some gin happening there too. So
We'll talk about that
let's talk
later.
about distillation. What is your process? Have you changed it through the year? Have you always stayed traditional in the way you distill?
Yeah, I mean, like all distilleries, we've changed it through the years, but the holy grail of making spirit is to make sure you don't change your spirit character. So when you're changing something, you have to analyze it to death before you do anything. That's the way we always work in Scotland. We're very superstitious as well. You hear these mad stories where you replace a wash still and it had a dent in it, and they're going to replace it and they're going to put the same dent back in. I mean, all these things are actually true. That's exactly what we're like. We just anything to save the spirit character.
I think
So,
I think it's distillers all around the world. Like
yeah,
every distillery in America has a cat in a distillery, and you're like, why is there a cat here? They're like, oh, they've always been in distilleries. They used to catch mouses, and because of grain, but you just have a cat in a distillery. Even modern distilleries have a cat, and I'm like, why is there a cat here?
yeah, we've got two,
See,
and they're called Glen and Turret as well.
see.
So yeah, every distillery loves a process, and I'm really close to it here. Obviously, with a background in engineering, and then all the things we've done over the years, the opportunity we've got now with distilling as well is fantastic. I'm so lucky to do what I do. So the process with us, we're a very small distillery. We are very traditional. We're only creating a few 100,000 litres a day. A year. A large distillery will make that just in a couple of weeks. If you take it in the context, that's how small we are. But it really is quality over quantity. That's what we're looking for. When we going through the process, we take the best barley we can do. We spend a lot of time setting up contracts with suppliers of farmers and then with maltsters as well. This is something we've got in-house now, so we control right from buying the barley right through to the bottle. So that's all controlled on site. Not many small distilleries can say they do that. Now, when we take our barley, we take it into our distillery. We take it in very small batches. We can take 25 tons at a time. We'll use roughly about that a week, just a little bit less than that. Everything goes through our old Porteous mill. Now, Porteous, if anybody that knows about mills, they'll know about Porteous. Porteous is the famous mill brand ever to produce mills in the world. The most thing they're famous for is they were so good they actually went out of business, because once they flooded the market, they couldn't sell anymore. And our mill is well over 100 years old. So it gets serviced once a year and it still runs away. Absolutely beautiful piece of equipment. Now we take our barley through this mill to make grist. Then we take it up to the mash house where we're going to add water. So water at different temperatures. This is really, really important. Every distillery will do this a little bit different, but the first temperature is very good. I don't know how this translates into Fahrenheit. I should have checked this before, but 64 degrees centigrade. So if somebody can work out that's great. Really, really important, because that's the gelatinization temperature, above the gelatinization temperature of sugar. So that sugar then will melt, basically. But also, just as importantly, the enzymes that are within your barley cell will not be killed at that temperature. Because one of the things about Scotch whisky is there's no additives. So all the conversion all has to be facilitated with what's in the barley cell. So you need to make sure you set that up perfectly going through your distillery. So we are very, very close to that. So what I really like in our distillery is when you walk into the mash house. I wish you were here. So it's a really good excuse for your visitors to come here.
I'm coming next year, so
Excellent.
I'll have a tour of Scotland next year. So yes.
Oh well, you have to pass us at some point, so you have to come in. So what I really love here is when you're walking through a distillery, you get all the smells, you get all the noises, you get all the experience of that. You're really, really close to liquid. All the operators making the whiskey aren't sitting 200 meters away in a control room. They're sitting right beside the mashing, right beside the stills and the washbacks, controlling what's going in. So it's not just a screen that's telling you what's going on. It's the noise, it's the ears, it's the smell. That's what we really like. That's what really makes whiskey. So the mash house is no exception to that. You walk in there, these guys know exactly what stage their process is at just by the noise before they even look at anything. Now, once we get the sugar converted, we then filter it down through a floor, but very, very slowly, because we want it to be very light. We don't want all the solids to come, because we're looking for that nice, sweet estery note that we get in Glenturret. Now, that'll only happen if we make sure every stage is exactly the way it should be. So by getting this liquid, which is now called wort, which is just a sugary liquid with the enzymes, it's filtered down through the mash tun, get that through into the fermentation vessels and add the yeast, we can then have a nice long fermentation, which is going to really enhance these estery flavors. A lot of flavors come from the fermentation process. So as long as you set it up properly, you should get a very good spirit coming on the next stage. Once that's complete, we take it through our stills. We've only got 2 stills, just a first distillation and a second distillation. Everything we produce goes through these 2 stills. Now, again, this is very, very important. Lots of interaction with the copper. So run them very, very slowly, just to make sure you get lots of reflux and that nice sweet estery note is getting enhanced in the distillation process. So now when you put them into the cask, the spirit into the cask, you've got the perfect starting point for the cask then to do its magic during the maturation. So that's really it.
And if you don't mind me asking, I think I know the answer, but I'm assuming most of your spirits start in a ex-bourbon cask?
Some of it. We use lots of different types of casks. So yes, bourbon is one of them. We use a lot of sherry casks as well, but we do use a lot of American wood sherry casks. So we use European wood and American wood. That'll give you a very, very different flavour. Just even though it's not been bourbon, it's still American wood, been grown in North America, taken over to Spain. We've made them into casks, and then there's been sherry in it for about 18 months. And then that'll be emptied, and we'll put whiskey into that. And we'll do exactly the same process, but with the European wood as well. Very, very different. And I'm hoping, I don't know what samples you've got to taste later on, but I've got them all here. So we can look at that, because we do
that is, you're asking exactly the next question. Since we understand how the whiskey is made and the maturation, let's say this is my first time ever trying Glenturret, and I've never had it before. In your opinion, what is the best way you will introduce me based on you making your whiskey to Glenturret? I have triple wood, I have the 12-year, I have the 15-year, and obviously I have the 7-year peated smoke.
Okay, right. Okay, we've got a little bit of a journey then. That's perfect. So I think what we should do is start with the triple wood.
And why is that particular?
What triple wood have you got there, Jack? Which one?
Here I have the 2024.
2024.
Yeah, triple wood. And I wanted also to ask this question based on the expression. Is there a difference, right? Or I'm assuming most distillery do not tell you if they have a standard expression, if it's this year's or last year's expression, unless that expression is quite particular. But I've realized that on your expression, I have the 2024 and the 2025 of some of those expressions. Why did you make that difference?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's something we've worked on a lot. This is really to do, if you look at the history of Glenturret, and we talked about how important the last sort of 6 or 7 years has been for us. Now, really, when we were part of Edrington, a lot of our product would actually go in for blending. So when we talk about blending, that just means that some of Glenturret would go into another product. So it wasn't always for us. So that's a good expression. I like that. So what we've done is we had to come up with a range in 2020. So 2019 and 2020 with the new owners. So we get the opportunity to go and look at our whiskey stock and see what we're going to do. We've got a lot of stock, but not always in the right place, not always in the right age, not always in the right casks. So we spent a lot of time with whiskey maker Bob Dogarno, looking at all the stock and just to see what range we could bring out. So Triplewood was one from before that we were very keen to keep because we really like Triplewood.
And what is triple wood as a whole? What is the
What's wood?
maturation process of the triple wood?
Right. So the age of this is about 6, 7, and 8-year-old spirit. So all blended together in different ways, depending on what we've got available at the time. So when you look at the year of it, this one you have here and the one I've just poured myself is a 2024. The reason we've been doing that is because we're coming every year into different stock, we've actually been making it slightly different. The reason is the cask makeup's been slightly different. As we mature, every year we're getting a little bit better at that, and we're finding that the difference between 2024 and 2025 is much less than it was, say, between 2021 and 2022. So we're getting much more consistency of cask coming through now. So that's really because of the work we've done in the last few years, just recasking a lot of the liquid we had from before. So that's the same for right through the range.
And I have to tell you, I have to give you a kudos for actually being transparent, because you didn't have to tell that to your audience. You could have just blended and just call it the triple wood, and people were like, "Oh, it's slightly different," or
Yeah.
not. But you are being very transparent, which I can really much appreciate it, because now, as a consumer, it gives me the opportunity to say, "Oh, I like the 2024. Let me get the 2025 and see if that's as
Yeah.
better."
Yeah.
Or if I find the 2023, I'll be like, okay, let me try that. So I'm glad you brought that up. Consistency is very important, and I believe that is what consumers are looking for now, is that transparency when people are looking for uh, to know a spirit. So I can appreciate that. So is there a different type of cask, or is it the same type of cask but
You know,
3
what's
different
funny
years?
is it's like a little bit of a myth in the industry that everybody assumes that if you get a brand, it's good to, your feedback is really good there, and it really pleases me because what's happened over years is lots of distilleries, when they make their whiskey, they have to use the different casks every time. So it's the skill of the whiskey maker putting all these different casks together to get to the same point. We felt like our whiskey maker felt like we couldn't get to that same point early on in the new setup of Glenturret. Like I say, as we go on, we're getting much, much closer, and we're hoping very soon we can take the release off because we've got that consistency that's within the boundaries. It is very surprising, some of the whiskies you smell out there. If you smell one for 3 or 4 years before that, it is very different, but there's no difference in the bottle. So we did
Correct.
try to be very transparent up front.
Correct. I'm telling you, this nose is ridiculous. It is
Yes, it's
ridiculously.
beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like walking into a field of flowers. It's like what is that expression?
I might
I
use them.
want I want to strut. I want to start strutting, because it give you that's when I nosed it immediately. I pulled back and went, whoa, is it's like walking into a bakery that only make like fruity pastries.
Yeah, it's got a lot going on, hasn't it? What I really like about it is it's really close to the distillery. So we spend a lot of time with our new make spirit trying to get that caramel toffee note coming through with the real citruses, and through fermentation we're getting all these smells. So some of the smells we're getting in this glass we can actually smell in the distillery, particularly in the fermentation room in the washbacks. So they're there. They're just
Oh,
amplified now once they've been in
oh,
the
this
cask for
is
a few years.
just beautiful, beautiful, because the nose. I, I I'm like, I think I can never forget this nose moving forward, because it's such a particular nose. Um, I
I
can
must
sit
admit,
here
this is
and nose this whiskey all day, because it's just that it brings you joy. It's hard to nose this whiskey and not smile. because it's just joy in the glass.
But what I like about it is it's very rounded. It's not overpowering in any one direction. So if I'm going to a party, this is the whiskey I'll take. If you're not a whiskey drinker, this is a very good introductory whiskey. But if you are a whiskey drinker, you get the reaction like you, which is great. It's really, really complex, but it's not overly sherry, it's not overly vanilla, it's not overly wood spice, but it's got all of those in it. And that's really a lot to do with the makeup of the casks. So the triple wood is 3 different types of very distinct casks, one of them being bourbon. So that the wood spices you're getting in there and the vanilla in particular, they will be coming from that sort of bourbon cask, that American oak. But we've also got 2 types of sherry cask in there, and the one we talked about earlier being the one made with American wood again. So American wood with sherry put in it. And then
And
after
sorry to inject before I forget, are these all 3 American wood?
the third one is European wood.
Okay.
So we've got a little bit European wood in there, a little bit American wood, and bourbon as well in there. Bourbon's is the smallest amount of it because it's quite powerful bourbon. So if you put too much in that, we get a little bit too much wood spice, for example, and a little bit woody.
Like
But
we
the
say,
blend of the all 3 is the way to go.
sláinte.
Sláinte va. The other thing we do, Jack, as well, is this was 2024. This was bottled at 44% ABV. We play about with the percentages a little bit. So Bob, the whiskey maker, when he's putting it together, he'll quite often, I mean, sometimes my Monday morning consists of me starting with maybe 2 or 3 whiskeys sitting on my desk. It's a great way to start the week. And that's because the whiskey maker's been working at the weekend and he'll leave some whiskeys sitting on my desk. And I still remember 2021, so 2022, triple wood sitting on my desk, and he comes up and he says, "What do you think of that?" And I'm smelling it. And I said, "This one's amazing. It's got lots of wood spice. It's got lots of vanilla. It's got ginger. It's got everything going on. But the second one is more intense. I really love it." And he said, "It's exactly the same whiskey, but there's 1% difference in ABV." He'd been playing about with the strength. And that whiskey actually went on to be score 99 in the International Wine and Spirits competition. So it was the highest
IWSC, yeah.
The
I tell you what, this should be everybody daily drinker at home. Everybody should own this bottle. If you love single malt, Glenturret Triple Wood should be that bottle you have in the living room for any guest that comes in, anybody that sits down. The immediate word that came to mind when I had the sip was balanced.
Yeah,
It's balanced. It has everything you need from your single malt. It has the spice, it has the sweetness, and that finish is beautiful and nice and crispy. You want all these 3 things when you're having a dram of a single malt of high quality. The intensity of it is on your tongue. That oiliness is sitting right there on your tongue. The mouthfeel is perfectly structured. You had me at hello. It's
That's great. We should maybe just go home now, Jack. I think we've peaked.
It is very, 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 very good. It's very good. And then the most odd ABV I've ever seen on any single malt, 44.
Yeah, and it's exactly that. The way we put the whiskey together is we work it out where it works best, and then we look to see what the ABV is. The whole range jumps about a bit. I think once, like the 15-year-old in particular, it's moved probably most over the years. The triple wood's probably only really moved between 43 and 45, but it does move round about there. Just some years it works better, a little bit stronger, a little bit weaker.
No, I'm quite impressed. If this is how I'm introduced to the brand, you have now hooked me into the brand, and I think this is gonna make in my list of recommendations of beginner whiskeys. I used to recommend a different whiskey in the Highland, but I think the Glenturret just
Yeah,
made my top list of recommendation when you're a beginner in single malt. This is the whiskey you should have because not only it tastes fantastic, but it has the balance that set the standard for you to know what good single malt from the Highland should taste like. And your craftsmanship shows in the spirit immediately. If you've been drinking single malt for a while, you taste some whiskey, you go, yeah, somebody in America, in black culture, we see somebody put their foot in it. That means they literally put their elbow grease and effort to make this, and you can
yeah.
taste it in the spirit. So, I don't know who is your who beside you takes care of the blending side, but whatever you're doing, do not change the person in the kitchen.
We'll try our best to keep them.
So triple wood, you guys wanted to play on the variety of wood by blending them together and bringing them as one expression, which believes should be your flagship. And I'm hope this is a flagship of Glenturret. And this is what should be on every shelf because everyone need an introduction to a good single malt, and I definitely love this. So from here, now that I'm hooked, what will be my next walk through?
Well, we could go a little bit off piste here and go towards the dark side and just try a little bit of peat. Would you like to do
Okay.
that?
I always tell people there's
Go
something that
there.
messes with my palate when I go to pee and I have to come
Yeah, I
back.
know it's a hard one. Should we
We
do it
should do it
last or should we
last
do it first?
because I
Oh,
know
you
I
want to do
know
it
me.
last? Okay, right, fine. The 12-year-old. Did you say you had the
I do
12-year-old,
have the
Jack? Yeah.
12-year-old 2024 edition as well.
Is it 2024 12-year-old
Yes.
you've got? Yeah. Uh, okay, I'll get the same. 25. Right, so a little bit changing direction
Okay.
here.
What obviously we are going from an average of 8 years to now almost 4 years more longer. Are we playing with different
Yeah.
wood here, or are we playing with just one type of maturation?
Yeah, I mean, we are playing with different types of wood again. So we tend to do that with quite a lot because we can. And I think to bring the best out in Glenturret, that is definitely the best thing to do. We went a little bit different, as in the triple wood, we made it very accessible, very balanced, very rounded, not so overwhelming in one direction. This time we've got much more influence of sherry. So a lot more that direction. But we have played about with different types of wood as well and different types of sherry casks, which makes a massive difference. So wood again, we've got this American wood and the European wood. So the American wood not being bourbon this time, but being made into sherry casks and then seasoned with Oloroso and Pietro Jimenez.
And this is what the Glenturret 12 should look like. If you look at it on a shelf, that's what you should see on it. One thing I'm loving here is you did not lose the signature of your spirit, even though we changed the
Yeah.
type of wood. That again, bakery scent of that apple pie fritters is still right on the
Yeah.
nose. You can have that note of sherry, unlike the triple wood where we get those spice note from the bourbon. Here you get those drier ish note of grapes and coming next to um that one. Color is much darker than the triple wood. Obviously, age is a little bit higher. Slange.
Slangeva. Yeah, I think what's important about this is I'm really happy to hear you say that we've not lost the distillery. Basically, we've still got that spirit in there. We spend a lot of time doing that. I mean, the spirit we are producing through the distillery is quite light and fragrant and almost fragile, which is good because you can change it in any direction with the casks, and you've got a very good base, but you also have to be very, very careful. So quite often what we'll do is we'll put it in maybe a second fill cask first, and then we'll change it halfway through the maturation, or a little bit longer, a little bit less than that, just once it's ready to take the bigger cask.
I just want
So if you
people
do
to
it too
see
early,
how oily this whiskey
yeah, you
is.
see the legs in it, you know. And it's not particularly an oily spirit we've got, but that is developed through the cask just by taking a little bit of time, especially in the first few years, and then it can go into your first fill PX cask, for example.
I'm telling you right
The,
now, it's so buttery. It is so buttery.
yeah,
I like the triple wood when you get more of that crispiness. This is buttery. You get the way I can describe it is if you had uh, a Christmas cake with some butter on it, with a drizzle of
yeah.
apple caramel right on top of it. This is this whiskey right here.
That's exactly the way you were more elegant than me, for sure. But exactly that. It's really that almost like toffee,
Mhm.
caramel, vanilla, butteriness coming through there, and then really that ginger, cinnamon, dates, figs, which is all it. That's all coming through there as well. But again, it's very complex. ABV's a little bit higher in this as well.
Yeah,
And that's
46.4 on this one.
yeah, it works well. The 12-year-old, we've been quite consistent about that ABV. We don't have to chill filter it as well because of that strength that's slightly higher, so you don't have to chill filter it, so you can just preserve some of these flavors. These little congeners you get in your cask will still be in there.
So this is non-chill filtered.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Mm. I can the butter. I cannot get over how buttery this is. I
Yeah.
I I almost hate myself for not trying Glenturret a long time ago.
Well, there's not a lot about it. We're at a small distillery, so we're really, thanks to MS Walker, we're really getting into America now, and I think we're in just about most states now. I think particularly like in New York, Massachusetts, California is the other one. I think we're quite big in it, but I think we're just about found everywhere now.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Like I said, the labor is showing in the spirit. And I try to remind people all the time, if I taste the whiskey and some whiskey no offense to them, tastes like it came from a bottling line. What it
Yeah,
means is it's all the same. It's boring. It's if you've tried one, you've tried 1,000, and you're fine. But you have a whiskey that remind you of a loving person's hug, almost like a familiar hug. I think makes give you a whiskey that gives you feelings, a whiskey that you can grow with as a as an enthusiast. And so far you two for two. You have not missed in any of them. That's why I'm saying that I'm shocked. This is not a whiskey that is not talked about more by more whiskey drinker. You are painting a slightly different canvas on a whiskey on a whiskey world than most people, and I think it should be talked about.
thank you. It's good. It's good. The appreciation of the team here at Glenturret is fantastic. Really lucky. There's a lot of passion here for sure. So to hear comments like that is fantastic, and I'll definitely be passing these on to the team.
It's you made a fan out of me. I'm going everywhere and asking people have they tried the Glenturret because uh myself I was oblivious to it for years, and I've been drinking single malt for a long time. And I'd always seen the brand, obviously more on my Scottish and English partners Instagram, and I'm like, I wonder what this whiskey tastes like. And just taking the time, not at a festival, just sitting with you and try it, and now I understand the labor of love that went into it just by just tasting it. So whatever you're doing, like I said, do not change it. You're doing a fantastic job on it. So if you don't mind me asking, you don't have to actually tell me how are you procuring these. Obviously, before we get to the 15, how are you procuring all these casks? Obviously, you're making a fantastic whiskey already. The choice of cask can be very, very important. It can make or break your whiskey.
Yeah,
From that
absolutely.
triple wood all the way down to just getting this butteriness. how specific or how picky are you on picking the cask that you actually are putting this whiskey in?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely major. There's no point in spending so much time making the new make spirit as good as you possibly can and then not put it in the correct cask. But it is a big cost. It's by far our biggest budget is casks. It's the one thing we use a consultant for. So we've got, and it, say consultant, it's a friend that the whiskey maker myself worked with for many years, who's got lots of pull in the industry. So we spend a lot of time with this gentleman. He spends a lot of time with us understanding what would work with Glenturret, where we're going to source these casks. It takes a lot of time to get that right, but it's definitely worth spending the time to do that. And we're going direct to source as well by doing it this way. So we know we've got very, very good traceability in the casks, which is not always the case.
And I can tell you what, um, I can tell, but I had to ask the question because there's no way you are, you know, you are shooting bullseyes right away if
Uh,
your process
Not all
itself,
the time, believe me.
the process itself is not, is not, quote unquote, very strict in the way that it is. I'm glad we get to the next expression. The 15 year that I have is actually this year release, the 15 year
Okay, right.
2025. So I'm actually excited to try something from this year, so we can actually I can the audience knows that we're not just trying things from last year. If you go on the market and you don't find something from 2024 based on my notes, I'm glad we having something from this year, so we can obviously have a conversation around this year release. Tell me more about the 15 year, which honestly is the category where you are competing with a few big names in
Two
the
big
industry,
whiskies,
right?
eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I always often tell people what is making new brands on the market kind of set themselves apart from others is new brands are not afraid to go lower in age, right? 8, 7, 9 years. They're putting those fantastic product. But once we start getting to the age statement, you're playing with the big boys at that time when we're talking about a 15 year. So your 15-year first have the audacity to be higher in ABV than the average person by, on the market, the average highest I've seen is usually 46. You get 146.5. I feel like you are the younger sibling that always like to dare
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
in the
take that.
industry.
Yeah.
I wonder that's the only like distinctive thing I've seen. So tell me more about this 15 year from the 12 year when you're playing with Sherry. What happens in the 15 year?
See, we're playing with Sherry again in the 15 for sure. This time we've got the advantage of the age going on top of that. We've got a few more casks that are a bit mature. We've also got some longer term casks in there. So when I say longer term, I mean casks that have actually had sherry in them for the duration, the full length of the 15 years, which is a little bit dangerous for Glenturret because, like I said before, that can overwhelm the whiskey. But with the skill of the whiskey maker, he can make that work. You can see there, just with the way what you're doing it, is become very oily as again. Similar to the
Ooh,
12, but it's just the next level up. This is the one we've probably
this for
struggled with
sure.
most in the last few years. But I think last year, this year is 2 years where it's made that big leap up from the 12. And we're in that space now. The ABV in this has jumped about all over the place, just with us trying to get it to where we like it, where we think it's the best possible whiskey it can be. I think 3 or 4 years ago, we were actually releasing this about 53% ABV.
Really, I need to
Yes,
go look for those
much higher,
expressions.
much higher. Yeah.
I need to go
Whereas
look
now,
for those expressions.
yeah, yeah, they're big, big whiskies, as you can imagine. This is what I have to check and see what the ABV of this one was. I couldn't remember. So it's 46.5. This is the lowest we've released this by far.
Really,
Yeah, yeah. I
the
think last
nose
year,
on
I actually
this
wrote it down early, we were 50% last year.
the nose
So,
of this is 100% much more sherry forward that you can smell the sherry now,
yes,
and the
spoon it out.
distillery is sitting more on the second fiddle versus actually the 12 where you can still smell the kind of the DNA, but the sherry nose,
Yeah,
those what I call strong grape, almost funky barn. I call it the sherry always remind me of a funky barn, walking into just a barn with some hay, where you get that kind of that funkiness after a rain. You get those on when you have like older sherry.
Yeah, it's
Where
definitely moving away from the distillery a bit now. The
correct,
sherry is taking
correct,
over. You've still got the lovely sweetness coming through, but I'm not sure it's so much coming from the distillery, but more from the
correct.
cask.
Because it's like the distillery distinct thing is an apple tartlet, right? That's
Yeah,
what you smell fresh baked apple tartlet. You know that's Glenturret. That's if someone asks me what's the signature of it, is a bouquet of apple tartlet that you're getting right away. But here that apple was in the back, and those sherry notes are very on the top. But let's try it
yeah.
and see where it sits as a spirit.
So again, we're playing about with the different casks here, Jack. So this time it's a little bit more European led. So that Christmas cake is really coming through. Definitely a little bit more wood in the palate now that we didn't have so much in the 12-year-old. That's really kicking in that sort of wood spice there. But again, that's the age of the cask coming through.
Oh, one thing I would tell you is your whiskeys never taste like the ABV.
Yeah,
They do
yeah.
not taste like the ABV at all.
You
Because
know,
of that butteriness that comes from the whiskey, you don't feel the ABV at all till the finish where you're like, oh, there's a little kick here. But I'm not you don't feel it in the mouth.
I,
And that I don't I mean, kudos to you guys for kind of fooling our palate when we taste it that it does not have a higher ABV at all.
I think that's one of the biggest compliments you can give to a whiskey because you can also it can also work the opposite way. So sometimes you can take a taste of whiskey and you think, wow, that's really, really strong. And you look at it and it's only 40%. And really to me, that's because it's not balanced, it's not been put together right. If you've got a really good whiskey and it's been put together right, ABV can be a higher and you don't notice it the same for sure.
Alistair said he's very happy to be staying at the distillery this evening.
Ah, he
Alistair
is, yeah.
from we got friends around that are coming to say hello.
He
Thank
owns
you
a
for being
distillery
here,
elsewhere as
Alistair.
well. He's a good
Yeah,
lad. Yeah.
thanks for stopping by. I had him on the show as well. That's also a legend that tried to do something very
Yeah.
different. Like I was talking about younger age whiskeys to actually bring up the thing. I see, I told him when we had our interview that he's daring enough to put younger spirit up and trying to give them life and also bring them to the front. But this right here, I would say the 15-year will be for the seasoned sherry lovers. I would tell somebody, uh, no 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 offense to your old partners, but if you can afford $299, you should probably consider Glenturret 15. If you want that other uh, well-known name that is charging too much for their whiskey for their sherry cask. I think Glenturret is giving you that sherry that you're looking for and a higher ABV here. Uh, because honestly, the nose and the taste mouth, I will have given it to. If I didn't know any better, uh, I would say, "Is this Macallan?" That was the first thing I would have said if I didn't know it. So, not the price of it, not the thing, but the quality and structure of it is definitely here. And um, I think I found my new replacement for a $300 bottle. I can have my Glenturn 15, and I can put it against anybody that is what I like to call the big names. I'd rather have my Glenturn 15 if I want that kick of sherry, what I call the sherry heads that love their sherry single malt and won't think this the only thing that they should be drinking. I think you are catering to those people perfectly with this 15-year.
It's very good to hear. Thanks for the compliments. It's the 15-year-old is definitely going in that direction of the sherry. That's for sure. It's really going away from the distillery. It's getting that maturity coming through, and it's become a
I
very big.
often tell people this will not be my go-to. The 12, I would drink all day. But because I like those crispy,
Yeah,
sharp, pungent, the triple wood, I'm taking it everywhere. I'm buying two. One to drink, just one to keep as a backup, just to make sure that I have it because that's my style. I think I've drank too many sherry cask when I started as a new young drinker. That to the point where I got tired of sherry. So this is something I would join every now and then on a cold night with a cigar. I will have this.
Yeah.
But the 12, the triple wood and the 12, you got me at hello. This is after dinner, long day. Friend is coming over. We're having this thing because for me, it's really just balanced, and it is engulfing beautiful whiskey, your signature whiskey note that is just making me happy just tasting it. So that
Fantastic.
that'll be my personal opinion, because people always say, oh, you never give us your personal choice. If you have the if you're having this whiskey, what would you drink? And I said I'm gonna start telling you what will I drink. So in my line of things, if somebody said, what would you want for Christmas, I would say give me 3 bottle of the triple wood and I'll be good for Christmas, right? Because that's me. If I had a second choice for special occasion, this 12-year-old is definitely doing it for me. I think you've literally hit it on the nail there. But for you guys that like that red bottle or blue bottle that costs you $300 and cannot afford it anymore, I definitely advise you to find this bottle.
Wow.
This is what you need. This right here doesn't cost as much, but you can flex on your friends and put it in the canter and tell them it's that other one, and they'll definitely believe you. So
It's almost in a decanter anyway. It's such a beautiful
correct,
bottle, isn't
correct.
it?
Just spill the bottle, which I have to say, we have not had the opportunity to talk about this bottle, but I don't know who designed your bottle, which I would love to hear more about. But
Yeah,
I will tell
absolutely.
you, this is the most elegant bottle in the business right now.
So,
We say in America, it smells like money when you pour this bottle out.
so one of our owners is Lalique. So Lalique's a big French. Did you not know that? Yeah. Okay.
I didn't
So
know that.
there. Okay. So one of our owners is Lalique. So big crystal company.
Correct.
So
I
lots
know.
of
I know
times.
Lalique. If you don't know Lalique, you don't know luxury. But I
Okay.
know
Okay.
Lalique.
Right. So if you talk about luxury, but they're very, very classy as well. So if you look at the bottle, it was designed by Mark Lamino. So Mark Lamino is the head designer for Lalique. So he introduced this bottle to us when we started off. The You can see the 1920s retro lines, absolutely stunning. We get
Stunning.
so few breakages in this bottle as well. It's made to last.
I'm telling you all. I love, like, you put this on your bar, like, I don't even care what you buy a bottle just to put it on your bar. I promise you, people will have questions, and it's so easy for someone just to say, I want that one. It
Yeah.
is so it's an attractive bottle. That's the best way I can put it. It's very attractive. When you see it immediately, it has elegant, it's a beauty, but immediately it imposes power with that kind of triangle shape coming down into it. Man, that's a beautiful bottle. Let's not forget the royal blue
Yeah.
that you guys have on your box, right? White and blue. And what I like to
Yeah.
say, I really love that you kept simplicity. Does Glenturret have their own tartan?
We do, but we've not really used it. There is a Glenturret tartan that was made years ago. The gentleman I talked about who started the distillery up in the 50s, he commissioned a tartan. So there is a Glenturret tartan. It's a very sort of dark green tartan. It is a few places in the distillery, but it's quite discreet. We've
Okay,
not used it in any of our packaging.
okay.
Well, not yet.
Because I've always been curious due to the elegance of the bottle and this, blue color. I'm like, I wonder what their tartan would look like, if
Yeah.
they had one. Is quite, there's this type of elegance. Uh, what made you want to jump to the dark side, aka the peated side of whiskey? The Highlands are not really known for peat, so when we say peat, everybody think of Isla. But I think the only cross brand that I've always seen peat. From the Highlands, have always been, Glenmorangie, where they have their Ardbeg and they have Glenmorangie. But how did this come about? How did Glenturret get into peated whiskey?
So it was really to do with our previous owners. So our previous owners had a blended whiskey that had a little bit of peat in it. And they didn't actually have a peated whiskey within their portfolio that they could use for this. So the whiskey maker at that time for, well, it was at Edrington Group, Highland Distillers, a gentleman called John Ramsay, a really big famous whiskey maker in Scotland. He decided that Glenturret within their group would be a good place to make peated whiskey for what they were looking for at the time. So they were looking for the same DNA as we've got in Glenturret, that lovely sweetness coming through there, the sort of toffee apple in the spirit, but with a peated version of it is what we're looking for, what they were looking for. So that was back in 2009. So we started making peated back then, just a few litres a year, not that many, maybe about 50,000 litres per year. And most of it was going away after 5, 6, 7 years just for blending, but we always kept some. So there was always some kept back. And then when we were bought over in 2019, we said, well, we've got a fair bit of peated stock. It's not really our mainstream, but what are we going to do with it? Let's start playing about with it. When we started nosing it and playing about with it and then changing casks and changing the ABV, for example, we started to come across this whiskey that was really, really nice. And we thought, well, let's actually start releasing this. So moving on.
I have the 2025 7-year
Okay.
peated whiskey in front of me. I see that you guys have a 10-year and maybe a 13-year peated.
It's 15. 15, but very small amounts. And it's
okay. Yeah. All right. And while we get into this, you may not know this, but I'm gonna ask anyway. A few people already reaching out and asking about, can they find it in the US and where can they find it? Can they find Glenturret? Do you know a little bit about your distribution in the US right now and where are this bottle showing up?
yeah, I mean,
From
we're the big states we're in.
retailers?
So we're in most states now through. So it's MS Walker, our distributor. So if you go online and search Glenturret MS Walker, I'm sure you'll be able to find out where exactly you can get it. But we're certainly states like California, we're breaking into California quite well. Massachusetts, New York is the other one. But I think in most states, apparently we're in about 40, 42 states now in America. So it is there. It's just you probably have to go a little bit out of your way to find it, but hopefully it's worth it.
I would definitely tell you guys it is worth it. You want to actually know. I know MS Walker have distribution in Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Maine, New Hampshire, and obviously in Vermont. They also have some other state that they actually have their distribution through. But I promise you, the one thing you want to do, what I remind all folks when it comes to spirit, the distributor or the importer can only do so much. You, the consumer, drive the market. Go to your local Total Wine, local retailer, the guy that you buy all your single malt from, and tell them you want Glenturret. What that does is they push the importer or push their distributor, forcing them to get you the product that they want at their store. What that does, the distributor have to go find those company and find MS Walker and say, hey, we want it in our state because people are asking for it. And the more you are asking for it, the more Ian has to work. And I think he won that problem. That's the problem he's looking for. It's for people to ask and it's not available anymore because he given you all he got. So MS Walker will do their job. If you look up Glenturret, I would definitely tell you the first thing you want to do. We are watching on Instagram, which is the easiest way to see the Glenturret whiskey on Instagram. You will see all the things that they have. They have their link in there. I'm telling you now, if you're a sherry lover and you don't have Glenturret, If you're a serious single malt lover and Glenturret is not in your house, I don't know about you. I feel sorry for you. You are not registering on my list of serious single malt lovers. So I can tell you right now, they're doing an excellent job of putting quality product there, and you the consumer, and I know this, I'm a consumer. We drive the market. When I want to bring somewhere, I go bug my retailer. I say, hey, can you ask if we can get this here? And I go to another retailer, I ask the same thing. I go to my favorite whiskey bar, I say, hey, can you ask if we can have this here? The more people are asking, guess what, it forces those distribution home to push with the importer to see what can we get this product here. So that's for me the advice that I would give. Pete, the
Pete.
divider of all whiskey drinkers.
So have a smell of that, Jack. What do you think?
Ooh, I'm a Pete head, so I'm very, very much so biased here because I am a Pete head, and I love my peated whiskey. And this is the perfect weather. We're getting into winter here, and during the winter, you will see me drink Pete almost every time. That'll be my choice of spirit. And this
So what we've done here, Jack, is
no,
we
you have to you have one thing you want to do is if you see Alistair come to the
yeah.
distillery, you have to tell him, Alistair, Jack said he's putting my peat against your peated whiskey. Let's see who has the bet one
I might
because
say him after actually. I think he's
we're putting his peat against yours because I'm telling you now, the nose on this. I have a friend of mine that love Pete. Uh, he called this an emotional moment. Every time we smell some good pee, he said he have this big old beard, and he will always rub his beard and say, "I think I'm having a moment. Look at these goosebumps on me." And seriously, look at this goosebump. I'm having goosebumps right now, just nosing this feet.
no, so I think the first thing you notice as well, it's not overly strong in peat because there's a nice sweetness coming through that's definitely quite close to the distillery. So still there, but being 7 year old, we're still getting the nice fruity notes that we would expect, and very similar to the triple wood. All these smells are coming through as well, but just with that wisp of smoke coming through in the background.
The You did not lose your DNA here either.
No,
This
it's
is
still there,
perfect.
isn't it? Yeah,
It's like if so. The best way to describe this nose, and I would love it, this is the point where I would love this is the point I almost want this to be more cast strength than it is. The reason
aye,
why is if you ever have grilled pork meat on literally the grill, it usually in Hawaii they would do it and cut some apple slice on it to actually have that flavoring factor, and that ham hock with
yeah.
apple
Get the honey
slice
coming
on
through
it.
here as well, isn't
That's
it?
what you get. Smoked ham and apple slice on top of it. That's what the nose is. Is oh
Yeah, this is actually one we've not been doing for. We've only done it for the last 3 years. Before that, we had the 10 year old, which was nearer the cast strength they're talking about. It was a much bigger, stronger whiskey, and we wanted just something a little bit more fragile that was more akin to the triple wood with smoke coming through. So it's a very different whiskey to the 10 year old for sure. And the 14 almost goes back in the same direction as the 7 year old. Just that lightness coming through. I think you noticed as well on the palate, there's more peat coming through than there was in the nose. We find that with all our peat smoked whiskies, you're definitely more of a burn coming through. It takes you by surprise a little bit, doesn't it?
some chicory smoked ham with some honey and apple sauce on top of it. That this is what that tastes like.
Wow, you're making me hungry now.
I know. I'm telling you, it is. This is legit. I will have this. I would dare to have this at 55, 56% ABV because
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna destroy the structure of the whiskey at all. Because yeah, this is a Pete Lover dream. This is a Pete Lover dream. This is solid. This is you couldn't have made any better peated whiskey than this without losing the structure of your DNA. And this,
That's good to hear. That was exactly the idea of the 7-year-old. I think when Bob, the whiskey maker, was looking at it, it was that. It was a whiskey that was a little bit different from the 10-year-old, a little bit more akin to the distillery as well, a little bit more accessible because it's not a big, strong peat whiskey. It's nice and balanced. It's not overly powerful. It's not medicinal peat either. So a lot of the Isla whiskies are more the sort of medicinal, sort of TCP,
um,
that
um,
direction. This isn't that way at all.
how many? How do you know the level of ppm in this one?
Yeah, it's very low. It's only about 11.
Really,
Yeah, it's really low.
the amount of peat I got on when I inhaled it and when I had my first sip, which you would think is a higher peat
Yes.
ppm.
What we do actually, so the peat in the barley is very, very high. So higher than you would expect it to be for a high peated malt even. But when we put it through the process and we put our nice sort of sweetness through it, we don't really change anything in the process. The only thing we change really is the middle cut in the distillation. We move it a little bit just to emphasize the smoky notes because there's already lots of esters and sweet notes in there. So we don't look for those so much because they're already there. But the peated, because the peated spirit is heavy, it comes out further into distillation. So we collect it a little bit deeper. And that just gives it the sort of rounded smoky note.
Okay, okay. So you clearly took us through the world of the Glenturret, and now I know what it looks like as a whole. We're at the end of 2025. Now that I'm a Glenturret fan, what should I look forward to? Is that 2026 already in the work for the
Oh yeah.
triple wood and every expression? Is there any older expression coming out? Is there something special that is coming out that we should look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things coming out. One of the really things that excites me as well is every year we put roughly about 10% of our production, we just use that for innovation. So we really respect the traditional past. We want to make sure we've got this in the bottle every year. So we've got our staple we fill every year just to make sure we've got a lovely bit of consistency. But we've got also lots of different types of casks. We've got lots of, for example, Sauterne wine casks. We've got a very good source. One of our owners has got a vineyard in France and we can get them direct from there. Things like that. So we've got all that just for the future all coming out. Next year, yeah, there's a couple of things coming out next year that I don't really want to tell you about yet because it's not been released. But yeah, definitely do watch that space.
Okay. Okay. So my last question always for every brand that come on the Truth is Barrel Proof is the same. How can we help? You are putting your heart and soul. We can clearly see in this liquid here for all the single malt lovers, whiskey enthusiasts around the world. How can we help? How can we make Glenturret the brand that you in your head imagine it to be out in the world?
I
Do
mean,
you want us to come visit? Do you want
yeah,
us to like your social media? Do you want us to grab a bottle? How do we help
I'm
your
the worst person in
distillery?
marketing, by the way. I'll just throw that out there. So, as I'm sure my marketing team always tells me, they please, yeah, if you're in Scotland, come to the distillery. We are in such an accessible location. So if you're coming to Glasgow or Edinburgh, which you will do if you're coming from the States for sure, we are only 1 hour away and we are very, very close. We've also got a 2-star Michelin restaurant. So on site, yeah, exactly. So Alistair Day, that's why he's here tonight. He's going to the restaurant. But there's only two-star Michelin restaurants in the whole of Scotland. And we're one, and the other one is Gleneagles, which is only 20 minutes away from us as well. So the whole region is very, very good for food. So if you're coming for whiskey, you're coming for food, and the sights are absolutely amazing. But remember and bring your jacket. It does rain quite a lot in Scotland, that's for sure. But today's rain is tomorrow's whiskey.
Okay.
For sure. But yeah, what you're talking about, I mean, to be honest, Jack, the way you talk about our whiskey is absolutely fantastic. It just keeps me motivated as well to keep going. I think MS Walker doing a great job for us. Just search for it, look for it, buy it. We talked about the bottle being so beautiful. The bottle helps you sell the first bottle. but the whiskey helps you to sell the second bottle. That's for sure. So you'll buy it one time, but if you don't like it, you won't buy it again. So we really want you to appreciate the whiskey. That's why there's so much love and attention put into it.
And you're not limited to one expression, folks. You have it all. And for the people that are more collectors, I want to remind you there is a 25 and a 30-year Glenturret. I saw those bottles. Please, if any of you in the state have a bottle, I just want a sample. I just want an ounce. I want to,
Yeah.
now that I've tasted the whiskey, I want to know what that whiskey would age and maturation. What would that taste like? I don't want the whole bottle, but I just want an ounce. So if anybody here is a Glenturret fan and watch this recast, reach out to me. I need to try the 25 and 30 to see how does the whiskey, now that I've seen it as in quote unquote infancy, what did that look like when it's a grown whiskey and more mature whiskey? What does that look like? But I want y'all to remember, you the brand doesn't keep doing what they're doing till you move a bottle. I put my reputation on this. If you buy the triple wood and you don't like it, feel free to call me all the name on the planet. I can put my reputation. Just probably one of the best whiskeys I've had. That is a standard expression that is not over 50% ABV. That literally hit every panel, and the whiskey is not even 10 years old. That is a whiskey I want you to look for. That triple wood, you need to look for it. You got to have it on your shelf. I tell you, I tell everyone, and for all of you loving big bold sherry, get your 15. I promise you is not the price of that big brand that you people love spending money on. Flex on, replace that with your Glenturret. You will be happy. You will be happy right now. I know a lot of people online that does whiskey will always say, "Oh, what can we replace this bottle with?" Yeah, Glenturret is not just giving a picture, and it's giving main character energy. And I think you should give it a try. And yeah, send them a message. Go on their Instagram. I posted it. It's the Glenturret whiskey. Make sure you actually reach out to them. My friend Ian, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me, hanging out with the folks of the Truth is Barrel Proof. This episode will be available in 3 weeks on the podcast. But if you've seen it live, go to your retailer right now. Start Googling online the Glenturret. Grab yourself a bottle. I promise you, you'll thank me later. Ian, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you being here. Any last word?
Just
Or a toast to
opportunity.
the folks.
Yeah. The last word has to be Slanjava for sure.
Slanjava. Slanjava. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you being on the show. It was truly a pleasure. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. My pleasure.